Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and I am a mom of 3 small children. Lydia is 5, Mary Jo is 8 months, and Eliza is 3.5. Today I wanted to share with you how I get my children to cooperate most of the time, because there are days where and moments where we don't want to do that, but most of the time how I get my children to cooperate through play. This is kind of a different way of parenting, something that I wasn't used to, but I had read about this book in a mom group that I was in, and I had just had my 3rd baby, and I was kind of struggling in the whole parenting department because I had a newborn and then 2 older children, and I just was trying to figure out how to keep my head above water. But someone had recommended this book. Can you see it? It's called Playful Parenting by Lawrence J. Cohen. And it's a very interesting way to approach parenting. And I want to share with you some takeaways that I got from this book. So basically, I learned that children's language is play. That is how they communicate with each other. If you just watch kids on the playground, they just run up to each other, say, hey, let's play, and they go off and play. That is the norm for small children. But I think sometimes because grown-ups have grown up and we've matured, we forget about all that stuff that kids do. So it is definitely a mind shift into a different time. One way that I was able to help myself understand this is by trying to think of going to a foreign country. If I were to travel to a country like Greece, I don't speak any Greek, and I wouldn't expect a Greek person to speak English to me. I would try my best to communicate in Greek or with a translator, or probably Google Translate or some kind of little machine to get my needs across. But I definitely wouldn't expect them to speak Greek. I think children learn best when they are playing. And obviously there are going to be times where you just have to communicate in a regular way for them to understand, but I think children really appreciate it, and it definitely makes things a lot easier when we can communicate through play. So one of the first things that he says is that playing is good for children, and it is how they work out a lot of things. Maybe they work out situations that stress them out, or maybe there was something they were curious about and they wanted to explore it more through play. I know my kids have done this with movies. Maybe they saw something in a movie that was really interesting to them or kind of scary, and so they played it and played it and played it until they kind of worked it out in their brain. One of these was on The Lion King. When Mufasa died, my then 4-year-old didn't quite understand like death and why he died and why Scar killed him, and she just talked about it and kind of came up with this father, like imaginary friend, around that time, and she would talk about him as if he were her own father. So it was interesting the way she incorporated that into her play. I also think that it helps children to feel empowered when a grown-up maybe wrestles with them, or when you let them chase you or play hide and seek. It puts them in a position of power that they normally wouldn't have over an adult, and I think that can be a little empowering. Now obviously that child will never take authority from you, it's just play, but I do think it kind of helps a child explore the areas of power and control, setting the rules, and but in a playful way, and in a way that once it's over, they know that the grown-up is in charge again. One fun way I do this with my girls is sometimes we'll go in the backyard and I'll just kind of start wrestling with them and then run off, and they'll chase me and grab me, and I'll say, hey, pick on someone your own size, pick on someone your own size. And they think it's hilarious. And then I run off and it starts all over. And or maybe in the pool with my littlest one, she had a life vest on, but I would just grab her and I'd say, Liza, save me, I'm drowning. And she thought it was hilarious, and she brought me to the edge of the pool and saved my life. It was just a way for her to play and kind of experience that in charge role, that life-saving role, if you will. I think that play and humor can turn tense situations between a parent and a child into something fun. We all have been there where we have marched up a hill, and we're both parent and child are standing on a hill, and we're like, what's gonna happen next? We're ready to go to war, because there's just that tension. The child wants to do what they want, and the parent knows what needs to be done, and you know, people are about to butt heads. I think if you can like turn it into a game or a fun moment, it helps lessen the tension and bring a bond to you and your child, and you can get what needs to be done, but in a fun way that everyone is on board with. It doesn't break the bond between you and your child. So one area in our home that can be very stressful is getting out the door. I have 3 small children. To get out the door, to get shoes on, clothes on, make sure everyone's gone to the bathroom, fed, had a water bottle, backpacks packed, seatbelts buckled, in the car. I mean, it's just, and let's not forget me, like, so 4 people really. And a lot of times I have to do this by myself because my husband's working. So I have come up with a few ways to get my girls in the car. The first one is just by letting them get in themselves. My oldest knows how to open a car door, and so she does. And then I let them climb in, but then sometimes they want to play around. They don't want to buckle up, so I'll say, cheeks in seats, and they yell back, cheeks in seats. And I'll say, buckles in belts, and they'll say, buckles in belts. And one day my child was like, what's a cheek? And well, you're sitting on them. I'll let you figure that one out. The other thing I do to make sure that they get their seatbelts on is I make it a race. Both my children can buckle up their seatbelts now in their car seat. And so as I'm putting the baby in, I'm like, you know what? I guess I'm just gonna have to buckle up first. I bet you can't beat me. I make it a race, and obviously I'm going to lose. I have a baby to get in the car. I have to put everything else in the car and then get myself in. So obviously it's gonna take me a couple minutes, and they can buckle up just like that, but they're buckled up. And I think they love it because they beat mommy, right? They're these little children, and I'm this big grown up, and they can beat me buckling up. So obviously the odds are against me, but they're buckled up and everyone had fun doing it. Another way you might get your children to do something is to make it out to be a game. My second child is in charge of putting away the socks. We keep our kids' socks in the kitchen just because it's easier to go from the laundry room to get the socks out of the kitchen than to run across the house. And so her job is to take all the socks out of the laundry, put them in the kids' basket, and run them to the laundry room, the kitchen to put the socks away, and then the laundry basket back in the laundry room. And sometimes she'll be like, I don't want to do it. And so I was kind of getting annoyed at her. And then I thought, Eliza, are you going to be a speedboat or a sailboat? And she thought about it, and she's like, I'm going to be a speedboat. And so I started like making these race car noises, and she got her little basket ready, and she like took off across the house, and I was like, you know, squealing tires and all that. Anyway, she loved it, and it gets done, and nobody got upset or frustrated. And finally, I want to talk about just having fun voices that you ask your kids to do things in. When a particular child is on cleanup crew, their job is to take all the dirty clothes in the hallway, because at night when everyone changes, they just throw their clothes in the hallway, and then we just pick them all up and put them in one laundry bag. I'll pretend like I'm on a loudspeaker, and I'll go, psh, Lydia cleanup crew, we gotta clean up in the hallway, Lydia cleanup crew, psh. And they never argue with me. Another one I do, it's a British accent to pretend like I'm a queen. And I'll say, the queen has spoken. And of course, then they want me to talk to them like I'm the queen. And it can get a little annoying, and so sometimes I don't do it for a very long time, but they know when mommy speaks in the queen's voice, she's serious about what she says. Not that I'm not other times, but they like it when I talk to them in the queen voice, so they're more likely to obey. I think that it's more about getting them to think as opposed to making them feel like I'm telling them to do something. And I think that play builds that connection. It makes them want to obey or cooperate. So how do you come up with a game? Where does it all come from? I think you can take different ideas from commonly used games like red light, green light, where you teach your kid to go and stop and come back. when you're out for a walk or out in a store. I'm sure there are others, I can't think of any right now off the top of my head, but some of the best ones that I've come up with are in the moment. Maybe it just comes to your mind, you have a silly thought, try it out, see what happens. Your kid may respond, they may not. Sometimes I have one child that I can goof off with and call her silly names and she thinks it's hilarious. And then I have another child that gets her feelings hurt and says, I'm not that. So it might be the child, it might be the moment, it might be that particular game or technique. So just kind of fill it out, and when you see something works and there's giggles, follow the giggles. Just go with it if the child is rolling with it, just like you would with a close friend. An inside joke with a close friend. If they like it, you would go with it, and it would be a fun little thing between you two. You can do it just the same with your child. One other thing that a parent may wonder, and I had to really wrap my head around this and become okay with it, is to ask yourself, am I compromising my authority? Because ultimately, I think sometimes as parents, maybe we think we need to be like loud or demanding or angry to get stuff done or to get our children to obey us. But I think that it was helpful for me to learn that I am ultimately in charge. What I say goes. But I can share power with my child. So I don't share power, I don't share authority, I share power. So power would be like how we're going to do this, you know. We can make it a game, we can have fun doing it. And I think that most people are that way, even as grown-ups. We appreciate it when our bosses are kind to us. Maybe they're not playful with us, but maybe they say thank you for doing that, or I really appreciate it that you did that, or they give us a Christmas gift or bring flowers for our birthday or whatever. We appreciate kindness, and I think that play is kindness with children. Now, obviously, you're not gonna have a game for every situation. I don't. But there are some very common situations where I have games, and usually, now that I think about it, these are usually areas that we do every day, like the laundry needs to be put in the dirty clothes every day. The socks have to be put away every day. Every day, I think after doing something so many times, you kind of start developing a game, and probably because you're doing it every day, it can get a little boring, so you need a way to make it fun. But again, if this is something that you as a parent are not used to, it might require a little bit of humbling. I know it did for me because I grew up in a pretty authoritarian family, and then I was in the military, and most people know the military is, they say jump, you ask how high. And I had to, that was really weird. It was hard for me to wrap my brain around with small children because little kids just aren't that way. And I found myself getting on this cycle of like punishing my children, and I just was like, this is not working. This does not, like, time out. Like, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work or isn't necessary, but I think that if you have there are other positive ways of doing things too. There are times, but I definitely think that fun, if I can make it fun and easy, I want to do that. That's my preferred method for doing things. So anyway, the book is called Playful Parenting. You can see it. Playful Parenting by Lawrence J. Cohen, and he's got some really good ideas in this book, and I would really recommend it if you're looking for a way to have fun with your kids and to bond with them while still getting their cooperation. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.